Good. Okay, we're live. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what happened to Mr. Overman, but I know he's away on holiday, so he may try and join. He may try and join us. He may not. So, how did you get on this morning? So, what time were you on the golf course then?
7 o'clock.
No way. And how did you play?
Yeah, okay. I've just got to try and make myself look better before Wednesday, so I stand a chance of at least finishing the game.
So Michael Nettleton, he's got a lot to look forward to, hey? Hey.
But I have worn them.
Andy Overman. Okay. Well, that was as good as it gets. That's as good as it gets with Andy.
Hello.
Who's away on holiday? Oh no. Hi. You okay? Can you hear us or not, Andy? No. Right. We're going to cut you off. Morning, Jeremy. How are you? Thanks for joining us this morning from sunny Billericay. If you're watching, say hi. Give us some love. Give Andy Overman some love. He's walking somewhere in Hull or Grimsby or Cleethorpes with a smile on his face. Horrible sunglasses. Morning, Lisa.
Full colours on today.
He has. There you go. Yeah. Especially for Simon Whale and David Mintz.
Yeah.
Okay. So we keep him there and make him look good. Morning, Lisa. How's Chester today? Hi, Eddie. How are you? Thanks very much for joining us.
Help me at the weekend.
Okay, Andy, we're going to remove you because we can't hear you. But thank you very much for coming in on your holiday. We appreciate it. He's going to try again. So we'll see what happens. So Luke, good morning on Sunday.
Morning.
Out playing golf already. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. What we wanted to discuss this morning is about getting sales ready and mortgage ready for your buyers. Because for me, I think March the 31st and the stamp duty holiday is going to be on us really, really quickly. And I think it's up to all the agents to be educating their vendors and their buyers to be getting ready as quickly as possible. And I reached out to a couple of solicitors this morning to see if they would want to join us and have a conversation. And I got one back from a solicitor that I'm just going to read from you. So actually, this is Stephen Hayter from My Home Move. So Stephen, sorry, I don't do Facebook, but you've seen the growing momentum towards getting upfront information and having sellers transaction ready. So to me, it's very encouraging. What you can throw in is a sheer volume of cases that have been agreed post-lockdown that have already exchanged, completed in timescales that are 40 to 60 days quicker than pre-lockdown. So again, if you're watching, morning Claire, thanks for joining us. So if you're watching us this morning, can you comment just to say, are you seeing transactions going through a lot quicker? Are you seeing them going through quicker because you're preparing your vendors and you're preparing your buyers? Or if not, it's exactly the same? Again, just following on, we've had a record pipeline and over coming months, we need to get everything completed before 31st of March. I dread the number of calls we should get on or after the 1st of April to say, the 1st of March to say that we've just done a deal and need it to complete by the end of the month. Okay, so that's coming from a conveyancer. Okay, so are you speaking to your conveyancers? Are you speaking to your solicitors to actually see what their workload's like? Because for me, I think it's going to be crazy. And I speak to a lot of agents. Luke, I know you're on calls with agents all the time. And I know you're playing golf with somebody on Wednesday whose pipeline is enormous. It's absolutely huge. And if you think about everybody's pipeline at the moment and how big it is, and you're just one agency, and if you think there's, obviously there may be two agents on a transaction, plus there may be agents in a chain, plus there's a vendor and buyer. So you imagine if there's a solicitor that's got 50 cases, potentially he's already got to communicate with over 200 people in those 50 cases. So
Yeah.
how are they going to get themselves, ready, and what do they want us as agents to be helping them with? So from your point of view, I know you've got sales progressors, don't you?
Yeah, so we've got sales progressors. So I suppose a couple of questions from what you've just mentioned there, Stephen. One is, do you know of all the sales that you've put through, what the track record is with all the local conveyancers? So do you know what that average is from when you send them that memorandum of sale to getting exchange of contracts or even completion? I mean, we look at exchange of contracts because sometimes you can't necessarily control the completion, but do you know what that average is? So if someone's going to be picking a solicitor that takes a long time, or historically their data supports that, then is there not a way that you can guide that person to be using someone that's going to get them into their dream home that little bit quicker? So I'm sure you'll be able to pull that kind of data from your CRMs. But then with your teams, have you got it set up with the different solicitors so that rather than bugging them, I don't know, let's say 5-6 times a day, which I think you hear a lot of conveyancers say, well, yeah, but you rang me this morning on that. You rang me this morning on that. Why don't you pull all your cases together and just have one maybe diarised scheduled call, maybe if it's once a day, once a week, twice a week, so that you can review all your cases with them in one big go. I think you'll find that's really beneficial, rather than, because there's nothing worse, and everyone else knows it, if you keep getting bugged about a separate thing. It's like imagine if a vendor rang you in the morning and say what happened to the viewing last Tuesday, then what happened to the viewing last Wednesday, half an hour later. Why don't you cover it all off in one conversation, because it's going to make you so much more efficient with that time. And like Stephen said, maybe go out for a coffee now with those solicitors that you're using on a regular basis, and just make sure that they're on your side, and that you can develop that good working relationship with them, or enhance that working relationship, and just ask them I had a meeting with one of our solicitors on Friday, and they're like, yeah, we know we just got to get it. We know we just got to get it through, and we have structured calls and structured updates with those once a week to give us an update on what exactly has happened with all of our cases.
If any of you watching, and hi Shell, thanks for joining us. If any of you can get hold of your solicitor now, morning Abigail, I will send them the link, and it'd be great to get them on the show, like we did last week. We had a few extra guests, just to find out what their workload is and what they actually need from us as agents. So if you can reach out to any of your solicitors, and any of them are happy to come on and have a chat, and I promise you Luke will be nice. I can't promise I will be to them. Let's try and get them on, and let's try and help. I remember in my day when I was an agent and I had 50 or 60 sales that I was trying to progress. Now, I was an early bird, so I used to come in at 7:30 in the morning, and I used to go through every transaction and see what's out there, send an email to the solicitors on both sides, and get a better understanding of what I needed, what they needed to get the sale through. And they tended to be at their desk very early, and I tended to get answers as to, right, here's what I need for you to get. And I was incredibly proactive. So, that's one way. But I think, you made a point. I think knowing your days on the market is really important. So, for everybody watching here, do you know what your days on the market, how long it's going to take a sale to go through? And secondly, the use of recommended solicitors and recommended brokers to make sure you're putting it through. But what I wanted to do, and Luke, I don't know if you do this, is when you go on the market appraisal, do you talk about days on market? Do you talk about, what's really important is getting yourself through as quickly as possible, because that way, it will take the stress out of it. It will go through a lot quicker. So what I've done today, Mr. Vendor, is I've got a list of things that you need to provide your solicitor up front. That if you fill in, that's going to save you some time. So again, that's one thing. And anybody watching, if you would like this list of a checklist for clients of what they should provide their solicitor up front, please put yes in the comments, and I will get that over to you. Let me know your email address as well if I don't have that, and send that over to you. So again, is that something that you do, Luke, or agent should be doing?
Definitely, because I think we've had it before when we had Tony on from AV Relay, didn't we? What's the vendor's perception of how long a sale takes? Not as long as what it really takes. They don't understand, and perhaps it could be that they've not moved for 10 years or even longer. So it is our job is to manage those expectations and to be the information giver. So when a vendor says, yeah, but I want to be moved by October half term, realistically, if they put their house on the market, is there a chance that they're going to be moved by October half term? So October half term is what, 6 weeks away, maybe 7 weeks away. Well, with the best will in the world, unless all your ducks are in a row, it's going to be a very slim chance because you've not even got it on the market yet. And you want to be getting that vendor the best price as well in most circumstances. So are you, like Stephen said, do you know those days on market to get that sale agreed? And then do you know that time from when you issue that sales memo to then getting that over the line with exchange of contracts? And typically, I mean, if you look at Rightmove, so Rightmove, I think are suggesting something around 60 to 80 days to get a sale agreed, depending upon your region. In some of the latest data, and if you don't know what that is, speak to your local Rightmove representative, and they should be able to give you that information. I know our rep gave us that this week, and again, whether or not you love, hate them, or just tolerate them, it just used to get that information out to help you plan for your business better. If you don't know that information, you need to get it quickly. But then equally, you can quickly put that. If you don't know the time from memo to exchange of contracts, quickly whack it into a spreadsheet and you'll be able to do that calculation. But then are you, like Stephen said, are you using that to then speak to the vendors when you're going out to manage your expectations, but then maybe giving them tips on how they can reduce that down? So can they get themselves legally ready? So can you get all the necessary protocol forms out to them, get them signed up with their solicitor, so that as soon as you've hit that sales memo on your CRMs, that literally their solicitor's just got to start sending out the draft contract because they've got all the necessary forms. They're not waiting for the client care pack to come back from the vendor. And we know what happens. It comes, let's say the vendor gets it on a Tuesday, they get a big wad of paper like this and they think, you know what, I'm going to leave that because I'm now really busy because I've come off furlough and the kids are back to school and all of this, and life gets in the way. So they leave it to the weekend. The weekend comes and perhaps they don't do it. And then another week goes by, and this happens because real life gets in the way. And then it could be 2 weeks. Then that's another 2 weeks on top of you getting paid. If you could get paid 2-3 weeks quicker, would everyone not put these things in place? Definitely. So get your vendors legally ready. Get them with their solicitors. Get that lined up. Get it on your CRM. Vendors already, and even put it as part of your marketing. This vendor is now legally ready to go.
So I'm going to go through and give some people, and I will send this out if people want it. So I know Abigail will get it to you and Eddie will get it to you. So as Luke said, complete property information forms. So sellers information forms, property information forms. You've got people like, one of the things that I've been suggesting to a few people, if you've got sales progressors, and I know the sales progressors are dealing, when the sale is agreed and the memorandum goes out, they first make contact. Personally now, I actually think they should make contact when you're instructed on the property. Okay. Definitely. And then that way they can go through all the fixtures and fitting forms, property information forms, sellers information forms, and actually get that already. So again, these are the sort of things that you need. So any guarantees and warranties. So if it's a new build, an NHBC guarantee, damp or woodworm guarantees, any timber treatments, electrical work, roofing, central heating, underpinning. So any certificates, fencer certificates, corgi certificate, gas safes, the electrical work certificates. If they've had subsidence, certificate of structural adequacy, any planning permissions for fixtures and fitting forms. If it's leasehold, complete leasehold information forms. Up to date ground rent receipts, service charge receipts. I mean, you look at it takes a long time to get the management stuff back, the management pack. So again, you know, maybe apply for the management pack as well. ID documents, again, that's important that you need. So proof of address, proof of funds, your broadband provider, building insurance policies, white good manuals, you know, if there's a section 106 agreement, lease extensions, party wall agreements, even your lender details, so to provide amount outstanding for redemption. So that Andy Overman, I'm going to put him on mute because his kids are far too loud, which doesn't work, so that's fine. So office copies, title number, any documents from when you purchase a property. So again, there's loads of information you can go, and I think if you're the agent that goes in and there's 3 agents that go in and you're the one that says, here you go, here's a list of everything that you need, it's going to make a difference and help.
100%, and it is just putting you that inch ahead of being able to win that business, isn't it, from that vendor? We all know, everyone listening and watching this podcast all knows that they're the best agent for the job in their respective areas, but sometimes you just need to put things in place in order to give you that inch ahead and an inch ahead. So and we all know what are the common things that get flagged up right at the last minute. I don't know. We had one the other day. The buyer wants the boiler servicing before they exchange. Well, why don't we explain that to vendors that 50 to 60% of the time this is flagged up? So in order to prevent a delay, why don't we get a gas engineer, usually property management departments, a gas engineer, it's going to cost roughly 60, 70 pounds. You can facilitate that for them. So again, you're taking the hassle out of them. Again, we talk about the Australians. So the Australians kind of do this, don't they, as part of their dressing and getting the property ready, but facilitate that so that when someone inquires, you can say, well, I can just let you know and you can then also put it as part of your marketing, gas central heating, last serviced XYZ date. That way, and you've got the necessary proof, because it is such a common thing. Electrics is becoming a common thing now, particularly if it's a buy-to-let investor with the new legislation that's come in. So, and again, solicitors, it's one of the things. Oh, it hasn't got an electrical report. Well, maybe have those conversations with your owners. But if you had that as a checklist, put into your own nice colours that Stephen's prepared to kind of give out if they want it, that's going to put you miles ahead of the competition, because you're helping them get through in a timescale that they need to, so that they can save that maybe £15,000 on stamp duty.
And again, just piggybacking on what you said and something we discussed last week, what about videos? What about, you know, these are the most common issues that happen to stop sales going through, and actually tell stories. So, you know, what are the stories? You know, that's a great story. We were hoping to exchange this week, and then the buyer
right
came
at
up
the 11th hour. Right at that 11th hour. And I think it's one of those things, is that don't just leave it at the market appraisal stage. Follow that through. So have that as part of your priority checklist throughout your relationship with the vendor. So when you're doing your update calls to them, how are you getting on with filling in those forms? Do you need some help? How are you getting on with getting the fence certificate? Oh, you've lost it? Not a problem. Well, here's the website that you can reorder it from. Have you got your building compliance certificate for the gas boiler? You had a new gas boiler, brilliant, but you need that certificate. If you haven't got it, here's the website for it. So don't just set and forget it. Keep revisiting it throughout that journey until you get that sale agreed, because otherwise it won't get done. Everyone leaves busy lives, and we're getting busier and busier now.
Okay, and actually 2 things about the days on market. Okay, so from a vendor's point of view, it's fantastic if you can get the days on market down. From your point of view as an agency, when you're comparing yourself against your competitors, because you've got your vendor sale ready, because you've managed to get the exchange and completion through a lot quicker, your days on market in comparison to your competitors it's going to be massive. And that's something you can use as an instruction winner. You know, who would you prefer to use? Luke, who's taking 50 days on average to say days on market, or his competitor down the road is taking 120 days? You know, it's a no-brainer. But who on here is going to be brave enough to do those videos? Okay, because again, to me, they're educational videos. They're telling people what's going on, and also it shows what you do as your job. You know, so people think all you do is put a property on Rightmove. Now, you and I know that that's not the case, Luke. You and I know you do. You and I know you do considerably more on that. So it's all a question about showing it. And in fact, we're joined by a solicitor now, Peter. Thanks very much for joining us. Would you feel comfortable coming on the show so we can ask you some questions? If you say yes, I will send you the link. So thanks very much for joining us, Peter, and let us know, and we'll try and get you on and have the conversation. Oh, there you go. Abigail tomorrow's on it. She's going to start doing these videos, which is great. Morning, Peter. Are you happy to appear on the show? Let us know yes, and I'm going to send you the link now if you are, and just click on the link so we can understand from a conveyancer's perspective what it's actually like, which will be great for all our viewers and listeners. Luke, if we flip it round on the buyer.
Definitely, because we've talked about the conveyancing side, but we need money to buy property. And quite often that money needs to be borrowed, as we know with the mortgage. So what are we doing in branches? Because we all know the mortgage market's been squeezed. But there are, for example, I know NatWest, they're coming back with good 85% loan to value products now. So it's getting better and better and better all the time. But with people on furlough, maybe people taking less commission now, maybe extras that were being paid in salaries have been cut back, people on flexi furlough, that's affecting everyone's ability to actually get that mortgage, as we know. But what are we doing in order to make sure the people that we're dealing with actually do have the means to buy, so we're not getting them disappointed by seeing something that they can't reach at this moment in time, but can we help them reach that in the future? If it's maybe by giving them some tips on how to tidy up their credit report. So if it's a first time buyer, can we give them some tips on how to get from 10 to 15%? So we've then got a client for life in the future. But equally, are we getting those people financially qualified before they're even going out viewing? Because it's going to save you time, it's going to save them time, and ultimately it's going to save money, and you're potentially going to get sales tied up quicker. Because I would imagine the majority of viewings going on in estate agencies up and down the country at the minute are for unqualified buyers, that you only get qualified once they start to make an offer, and that just seems completely crazy.
100%. So Peter, I've just sent you a link to your WhatsApp. So if you're happy to, and you can click on that, then we'll bring you on the show. So don't worry, we've had people in their pajamas and their boxer shorts.
Shorts, yeah.
So morning, Simon. Thanks for joining us from Sussex area. Hope you're doing well. So again, coming back to the buyers, start some registration. You know, educating first-time buyers. Yeah. Would you, or again, is this something you would start doing with videos? Letting first-time buyers, this is what they need to know.
Definitely, and it's not just at registration stage; it's at inquiry stage. Really, you get that. Again, it could be the same in some businesses, but you get that Rightmove inquiry they want to view. I would imagine most people's reaction is that they'll just book that viewing in. But why don't you get them financially qualified? And that's not to force them down the route of using a mortgage advisor that you have in-house, but it's to ask some simple questions to ascertain if what they're looking at is something that they can do. Because what we've had examples of where we've had inquiries for properties that, let's say, £250,000–260,000, but when they were financially qualified, they could only afford with their deposit up to 170, 180. Well, with the best will in the world, the vendor's not going to be that flexible. and it would severely dent our percentage of asking price achieved. So we couldn't allow things like that to happen. So, but it's going to cut your time. And I'll give you an example of where that's worked really beneficial to us. So this is where coronavirus, COVID-19 has been a really good lesson for us. We were running at around 30 viewings to get a sale agreed. We've now brought that down to 9.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you in a sec how to do that. Firstly, Loretta, thanks very much for joining us. There's a lovely lady called Stacey and somebody called Ollie that are joining us. So good morning to you.
Who are they?
I don't know, but lovely. Thanks very much for joining this.
They know my secret now. Why I like snuck out the house.
I'm sorry, Stacey. It's all my fault. So please make sure Luke doesn't get in trouble when he gets home. Eddie, I did this the other day and visited a broker to find out being on furlough we'll have to put more money in or wait. Okay, brilliant. Well done, Eddie. Great being proactive. So coming back, sorry, Luke, for interrupting you.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to send a quick message. But in terms of how our process works, so when we get an inquiry or anyone that wants to view, we set this up on the CRM so that they get passed across to the mortgage advisor, and that isn't to sell, like I said, mortgages. It's just to make sure, can they do what they want to do, and is it affordable to them? Because again, rates have changed. So if you've only got a 10% deposit, which is still a good amount, are you aware these are the products that are available now? So when you got your mortgage promise from 6 months ago, that's probably no longer valid. So these are the lenders and those situations. So we get them financially qualified, and then they get a kind of a tick, and they get told. Then we get to see what their affordability is up to, so that then once they've kind of it's a bit like a passport, let's say. So it's a passport to go out and start doing viewings with us. And it works really well. Yes, it does cause a few delays. I'm not going to shy away from that, because you've got to get them qualified. But those delays as time savings in the future. And like I said, that benefit from going from 30 viewings to get a sale agreed down to 9, then it speaks volumes.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. You didn't expect this morning, did you?
No, not at all.
No. So Peter is at the partnership property solicitors. Peter actually was amazing. He was very kind, because again, if this is something that you want, Peter helped design the good lawyer checklist. So again, I'll happily give this out to anybody who wants it and send it over. Again, comment in the notes, and I will send it to you. Peter meet Luke, Luke meet Peter. So Peter, we've been discussing this morning how to get a sale ready, and trying to get the sales over the line a lot quicker. And it's great you coming along at short notice. So I noticed literally you come out of your pajamas, you had a quick shave to make yourself look good this morning to join in. So we've got loads of estate agents on here viewing whether now we're going to be watching it on review. It'd be really interesting take from your point of view, because obviously you've seen a difference pre-COVID to post-COVID, and I presume we've had one conveyancer say that time on market, because people have been home, has gone down because they've had the opportunity to fill in forms and stuff. But from your point of view, tell us the day in the life of a solicitor. You're really quiet, aren't you? No estate agents ever call you. You don't have any work. Yes, your life's easy.
I've got to say, at the moment, it's unbelievable. We've never seen it like this before in the history of the company. We've seen, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, what we're seeing now is we're seeing a slight change in attitude with clients, which we were sort of expecting. For the last few months, everyone was quite tolerant and sort of say, oh yeah, we appreciate that it's difficult and so forth. Now that impatience is starting to set in. It is very, very busy. Just to give you an idea, in the last 3 months, our pipeline has doubled, which for a lot of people would sound really amazing. But in the legal side of things, that's actually a problem. So because we're not selling widgets, what it does do, it basically everything gets more and more stuck. And we've seen it get incredibly busy, which is it's a good thing. But what is surprising is that the majority of the problems that we're finding is delays with other lawyers and with lenders. And so what that's doing is that's just increasing times and everything taking much, much longer than to go ahead than normal.
Okay, so Claire, I'll get that sent to you. Flo, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So Peter, as estate agents, what can we do to work and collaborate better with solicitors that's going to, you know, solve some of these challenges? I mean, the most important people in the process, in a nice way, it's not you, it's not me, it's the consumer.
Yeah.
Okay. How can we make the process a lot better?
I think there's a lot of talk at the moment about sort of getting information up front and so forth. Obviously, my background, I started off doing home information backs. I'm very, very familiar with the concept. I like the idea of it as long as it's mandated. I don't think it'll make a huge amount of difference realistically overall, because there's not where the delays are. The delays are where things are just not being done during the process. That said, there are times where we hit delays and where agents can certainly get involved. One of the biggest problems we get is with donors, other people that are not part of the transaction, and getting clients informed that where you've got donors involved, and that's for many, many of our transactions, driving awareness of what's involved with getting them to get the money across, getting identification sorted out. I think certainly that's getting much better. We've seen big improvements with that. We've seen some great initiatives with ID from agents being passed around. That said, how many times do we get agents calling us up asking us to send ID for their clients back to them because they didn't get it? That is uncommon at all. And that's quite frustrating. Certainly getting things ready. Yeah, there is an argument that says, "Oh, get all your paperwork sorted out and so forth." The reality is it's not a difficult process. It's just people don't do it. So the idea is that we can say get sale ready, and we used to do a lot of work with this on Rightmove. You know, sort of get sale ready, get all your paperwork in order. You can actually solve that problem quite quickly. Typically, when we're taking on clients and we say get all your paperwork together, including all your certificates, warranties, guarantees, and so forth, we get it back in a few hours. So that's not a huge deal. Where we do struggle though is them getting ID done. That is annoying. In the process itself, in terms of speed, helping things to get through, we had a very, very fraught day on Friday. One of the most challenging, actually. And a lot of that was because agents were causing problems with our clients, which was really, really frustrating. Because they weren't aware of what was going on in the chain, we had a real situation blew up that probably soaked up about 2 hours of time on Friday, where the client was surprised because 3 up on the chain, the agent hadn't told people that there was an onward purchase, and they then dropped this bombshell, and suddenly it was our fault, and we had to try and fix it. And that was very frustrating. Nothing to do with us or our agents or anything like that, but just chain checking, guys. It's that really caused a problem.
It's like you say, Pete, it's some of the basics that are obviously really ringing alarm bells there that agents aren't doing, and they could help themselves out here. And you just mentioned about ID. I mean, come on, anti-money laundering regulations came in for agents, God knows, years ago. And if you should be having sleepless nights if agents aren't but not you, Peter, but the agents should be having sleepless nights for that. But yeah, I mean, how can you present an offer? And how can you recommend a vendor accepts an offer if you don't know the full picture? You've got to get the full picture on what's going on, down to finance, down to the length of the chain, what stage the chain's at. But equally, when you are sales progressing, actually get those updates throughout the chain, and don't just focus upon your little segment, because your little segment could be ready to go. But if you've not been trying to G everyone else along, then the phrase is into the wind. You may as well be. So, but yeah, I know we're joined by Greg now, and he's a mortgage broker or mortgage advisor with Mortgage Advice Bureau. So I dropped him a quick message just to, because this will probably come in handy with Peter, because one of the questions we've been asked is, Peter, are you seeing delays with mortgage offers coming out from the different lenders at the minute?
We're seeing delays across the board, actually. Even I had a guy on the phone on Friday, spent 3 hours trying to get a redemption statement from a lender. I mean, it's crazy. We during lockdown, and it's getting better, but we had some horrendous situation with a number of lenders getting offers, getting all sorts. It's getting slightly better, but we're still spending huge amounts of time on the phone, huge, like hours. I think the record was 4 hours.
Yeah, listening to that on hold music must be painful.
Yeah,
because it's never anything. It's never anything sexy, is it? It's kind of 1980s dulcet tones. So, but Greg,
what's wrong with that?
that's still your Nokia ringtone, Stephen.
I know. I know.
So Greg, from a buyer's perspective, and to try and get people moved quicker, and obviously with the looming stamp duty holiday ending in March, what can agents be doing to help get their buyers better prepared, or even their vendors better prepared, so that these sales go through a bit more swiftly?
Buyer's perspective, there's a lot more people fighting over the same properties at the minute. So if you've been qualified and you've got your agreement in principle ready to go, you stand in a better position. Yes, lenders are taking a long time at the minute, and there's the purchasers with the higher loan to values. I mean, like HSBC at the moment, there's products on there and you're available products, but trying to secure one is a nightmare. So a fellow advisor has been told it's a 4-month backlog for HSBC to see people at the minute.
In branch, is that?
To go see people in branch and to process applications, because they were the most proactive lender during lockdown. There's now the funnel end at the other end, because they can't cope with how much business they were getting.
Yeah.
So for a buyer's perspective, trying to get an agreement in principle and financially qualified as and when you're viewing stands you in a better position, because you're good to go. You're not fighting. You're not finding a property and then trying to secure a mortgage after it, and you don't know whether you can get a mortgage or not. We've tried to encourage people to say, look, let's come and see us, get your finances sorted out first, because if you do find a property of your dreams, it's probably somebody else's property of dreams as well. You want to be the first one there.
Yeah, and that's some good advice there too, because that's helping your buyers, and then you've not got to deal with the fallout from that when they end up really disappointed and maybe a little bit angry with you because they've missed out on the property of the dreams. And like I said, it's probably someone else's property of the dreams with it. So, I mean, out there at the minute, obviously without giving the advice out, but the mortgage market is probably still competitive, but not at 10% deposit level is probably still very in short supply.
Yeah, there's probably a handful of lenders at 10%, at 90% loan to values, and they flutter into the market and flutter out of it as soon as they got the quota. The flutter out of it. So I'm trying to encourage buyers, if they can afford the 85% loan to values, it just opens up so many doors for them. There's more lenders coming back in now at 85% and dipping a toe.
Yeah. Are you finding that people are using the savings they're going to make on stamp duty to get to that extra 5%?
Yeah, I am. Amongst other sources, yes, I believe that's. I mean, like savings that they've not been able to go out during lockdown, have they? So they managed to save umpteen thousand by not socialising and going out. That's another source of income that been able to get.
And what about one of the things that we talked about is obviously quite a few people have been on furlough, which I'm sure they'd rather have not been on furlough. They would have been working. How's that been affecting people's ability to buy or get a mortgage?
As long as it can prove they've been working during lockdown, and yes, the salaries might have been affected, but if they can provide a letter from the employer saying when the date they went back and they're on 100% pay back to where they were, majority of lenders are taking that. They are taking a little bit longer to assess it, but they are accepting that.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Okay. So
Thank you.
that's something to kind of preempt with maybe buyers to say, have you spoken to your employer if you have been on furlough, to make sure they're prepared to give a letter to that effect to help them. But obviously, that if you pass them across to the mortgage advisor, and a good mortgage advisor should be able to do that for them.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Greg. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Gregory.
Appreciate you joining us at short notice. Peter, if I could come back to you, from a solicitor's point of view, how much is your workload? So how many files do you have at your desk at any given time, and
That's a really sorry again.
So how many files do you have on your desk at any one time? So, because what I want agents to understand is you are quite busy, rather than, you know, getting calls every 2 minutes.
It's a very, very interesting point that we manage our caseloads very, very strictly at the company. What our goal for our lawyers, and we're quite streamlined in that our lawyers only do the middle bit of it. They only do the from instruction to exchange, so it's quite focused. And we would expect them to have about 55 files. 55 to 60, and that's fine. That's with 2 people working on that. Now, interestingly, I interview a lot of people, a lot of lawyers. A lot of them will easily upwards of 80 to 100. Is fairly common, and I see a lot of people online saying, "Oh, 80 to 100 is absolutely fine." It isn't, and that's why you get these service levels issues. Now, at the moment, I've got to say, our numbers are closer to 70. Which is much, much higher. Now, we are recruiting, we've taken on a lot of people, but it's busy. So if you imagine you've got 55 files, each of which are between instruction exchange and otherwise live stuff going on. And what we do is we use a portal. We don't use email because that's just dangerous. So we have a portal. And on average, when I look at the number of messages across the company that we get on average about 800 messages a day from clients. And that's just messages from clients, and let them, not even because they're really active at the moment because they're sitting at home. And what's interesting is that our total case count, I mean, we were running about 750 files at the end of May. We're now up to about 1,400, which is crazy. But what is interesting is that the number of messages hasn't increased proportionally, but it's still high. So it's jumped up by about a third in terms of messages. So at the moment, it's running about 1,000 a day. Typically, I'd say about 700. That doesn't take into account, obviously, all emails from other sides. We don't get huge numbers of phone calls from agents, but that's because the way we run our business. But everyone I speak to that joins us said that their whole day is the phone ringing, their whole day. And it's really, really challenging. The reason why our phone doesn't ring as much, we do push out more information, which helps the agents, helps the clients, but that we're not typical. Most people you speak to, they're running paper-based systems. They've got piles of files around them. You imagine 80 files. I spoke to one candidate she came from another firm. She said, yeah, on furlough, she took 2 suitcases into the office and took 2 suitcases full of files home. Ridiculous. And,
that's a bit of a staycation.
Great fun. I like bloody hell. And then they made redundant, and someone came along and took those 2 suitcases away. It's brutal. It is a a lot of people have a go at lawyers. I've got to say, it is a brutal job. We have 20 lawyers working for us, and just looking at the pressures they work under, and it's not a sob story. It's just unbelievable pressures that they are under. And we had an agent on Friday. They called us 5 times, just trying to get an update. And of course, we had nothing to tell them because there's the one where we were waiting on the mortgage lender. That's tough, especially if you multiply that by 50 files.
Absolutely. And I suppose agents should probably know better than be ringing, pestering conveyancers on a Friday. Generally, I mean, that my advice to clients, if they say, "Oh, can you get an update on this?" If it's not due to exchange or complete that Friday, look, I'm going to I wouldn't want to be pestered. So we'll either drop it on an email or we'll give them a call on Monday.
It is true. You know, our lawyers say it would be so much easier if people used email. But obviously, for agents, the problem is with a lot of lawyers, you know, they're drowning in emails at the moment, especially because they're remote working. They don't get the response. So I can understand. I get it, but it's frustrating.
Yeah, and just to touch on that tolerance level that you mentioned earlier, we've certainly noticed it that tolerance now seems to be wavering. Whereas, like you say, 2-3 months ago, oh no, I understand. Yeah, you're working from home and it's difficult, but now it's like everyone should be back to normal. And it's like with the increasing case sizes, you can't just suddenly say, right, we need to get another 2 conveyancers. It's not as simple as that. You've got to get the right people that fit your team, and you've got to go through the whole training process, and you're probably looking 2-3 months ahead before they're even ready to be dealing with anything. And you can't just say the answer is, well, we'll just get a locum in. That's not the answer either.
That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing you can do.
So again, we know it in our own branches when you try to get someone in just to cover for a week, and it's never the same. So conveyancers don't have a magic wand to just spread across their cases to make them suddenly disappear with just getting someone in to look after it for a week.
It's very, very challenging. Yeah. We always have a joke that locums always work for the competition because they come in and screw up your business. But we never do locums. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look, you touched on it, and I think Loretta touches on it here. And I think, is there a way that agents can give case studies and educate other people the importance of getting the right solicitor? Because, you know, if you recommend a proactive solicitor, that's absolutely fantastic. But if the other solicitors of a chain are not offering a good service, it's going to have a detrimental effect. So, you know, we know that just like there's good and bad estate agents, you know, there's good and bad solicitors. How can we educate? How can we improve it? How can we make a difference?
It is really, really challenging because we all know that consumers are driven by price, particularly. I think we've always been preaching this for years and years and years. Agents do need to take ownership of the client's choice of lawyer. The days of just saying, oh, it's over to the client. Yeah. Oh, they picked that person. Oh, okay, we'll suck it up. They're over now. We've seen a big change in the last year with some of our more successful agents, and what they're doing is, and we've even seen situations, and I'd never go on record like this, but we've seen situations where
you are on record now, because the whole of the UK is watching this.
If a client goes, we've seen this now more and more now. If a client picks a particular law they don't like, they'll say to them, say, no, we're not going forward with that instruction. Yeah, that's definitely happening. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it needs to happen, because it's only like anything else. If someone asked you an opinion, I don't know, let's say you're looking at buying a laptop, and they choose a £200 laptop, and they want to be doing, they want it to be super quick, they want it to be editing videos, and you ask someone that's a techie on it, I'm going to buy that one, and you say, yeah, it's all the same. No, they're not. It's different. So I think that's our job, and that's our job with vendors, because it's about what's the aims of the buyer and the seller. They want to get that sale over the line. So is there a greater chance of doing that with a solicitor that's going to give you faster days to exchange, because there's less chance of someone changing their mind, but equally they're prompt, reliable. They don't just let it drift along and just hope that the momentum of everyone else in the chain carries it forward, because I think a lot of solicitors are doing that at the minute.
Okay, and Jim's joined us from Scotland. Morning, Jim. So, Jim, we refer to specific partners we know will work proactively to push to conclude missives of completion. It's in Scotland, so the deal was sealed. So, you know, Peter, I don't know how much you know about the Scottish market, but is that something that, okay, nothing, okay, fine. I won't ask them whether that's something that you think, but effectively you talked about home information packs. They have a home report, which is done before, which has got absolutely everything in. You know, if you want to make an offer, you've got to make the offer, notes of interest to the solicitor, or the solicitor will put the offer forward through, and it seems to be once it's accepted, that's it. it's almost done and dusted. It's crazy. And I know we haven't touched on something that the land registry is starting to digitalize a lot, which is obviously going to help, which is great. I'm seeing certain companies coming up saying they can get transaction times down to almost next to nothing. I don't know if you've seen those and read about those in Property Industry Eye, what those are about.
I've met them. I've met a load of them.
And can we get exchanges within a week then, and completions within a week?
Nah, they're peddling nonsense. The problem with them is that they're not doing the work. We've seen loads of these. Every time someone comes up with something new, I always get in touch and they go, "Can I see it?" And we have a little presentation. They show me, and it's like, and how many people did you speak to about this? It's nonsense. You'll see one or two that survive. There's a couple that are doing a good job because they know what they're talking about. People like Yorkies are being quite sensible. I really like those guys. Like what they're doing. I think Mio are being sensible. Again, know what they're doing. As I say, there's a couple more that we're talking to as well that are doing quite well, but most of them are just pipe dreams because what they rely on is that everyone in the whole chain uses the same systems, and of course they don't, so it's rubbish. We see people peddling this idea that, oh, I can tell you how long this transaction is going to take by analysing titles and things like that. Nah, it's naive. It's naive nonsense. The way to improve the process is to do it piecemeal. So, for example, we've seen it whereby we speed up the onboarding process. That's definitely having an impact. Definitely, no question at all. But that's just a tiny bit of the problem. The core issues of it, still, this technology is not going to solve that. Technology will solve this, but not what they're doing. We did the first electronic deed signing a few weeks ago, which was fantastic. Big deal. That's a big deal. That's it was reasonably widely reported. That's a huge deal because you can waste weeks on that, and people don't believe us. And that's what I do get frustrated when people come up with these solutions, and then what they don't realise is the bits that really take the time. Like, for example, getting transfer signed. Flipping nightmare. How difficult can it be to get someone to sign a bit of paper, give it to someone else who witnesses it, and sign it? How long can that take? 20 minutes? Half an hour? Take a week? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. They're where that's when you look at that whole critical path in terms of how long it takes. They're the real time saving things. And then all of a sudden, it's not a 10 to 12 week process. It can be a lot more efficient with it massively.
Okay,
I think
one final. Go on, sorry, Peter.
I was going to say, I think that you need smarter technology. The technology that people are applying at the moment is from the 90s. So when you see all this stuff that people go, oh, we've got great case management systems out there, we've got great technology. They really don't. They're absolutely atrocious. And they're really old fashioned. They're probably 10, 15 years out of date. What you need smart analytics. You need to do smart things with the documents themselves, not just have it so you can have some chat room between lawyers.
Brilliant. So look, really grateful. Thanks for coming on at really short notice. You've been fantastic. Just one final question from Loretta. Is it possible for two solicitors within the same partnership to act for a buyer and vendor?
We do it all the time. We're regulated by the CLC, which allows us to do this. Yes, you can, but they need to be in different locations. It's interesting. I know that we have two offices, so we act on both sides. I know that, for example, My Home Move, they do it on different floors, which is interesting, and that's great. That works as well. The big problem that you've got with it is, in theory, it sounds really good. The problem that you have is managing expectations, because when people say, "Oh, you're in the same firm, therefore it'll whistle through," actually, those are the cases that come under the most scrutiny. And what happens is it becomes impossible to manage client expectations. But to answer the question, absolutely you can if they've got. Typically, it needs two offices, and they probably need to be CLC regulated.
Yeah, okay. They just think, oh, you can just hop over to the person's desk and just ask them what's going on, can't you?
Okay.
So Peter, does that not happen where you just hop over to their desk to ask what's going on?
I wish. You can't. We have to block it all out from the systems. It's an absolute nightmare.
I know. We have a similar setup with the people that we refer to, where they can act on both sides of the chain. But yeah, it is, because there is that misconception that, oh yeah, you've got easier contact and things. But if anything, they're the ones that literally have to be squeaky clean all the time. Yeah.
Okay. So Loretta, does that answer your question? Jim, we give advance notice to our solicitors so they can get everything in place prior to us getting the sale agreed. Abigail, I have a commercial lease conveyance that has been held up due to the paper copy of the lease being posted and then being posted back to solicitors. 2 weeks so far it's been held up by this. Scottish League Land Registrar is all computerised. Eddie, does anyone know what the speed is for HSBC? Waiting mortgage offer 3 weeks so far. So by the sounds of what Greg said, if they're doing it directly via HSBC, you're in for a long wait. Wow, Peter is awesome. Very good looking, looks great in pink. I want to know, does he have what's he got on underneath?
I reckon this is a kerfuffle ambush, don't you? Andy came on with pink. Peter's come on with pink. This could be like Simon Whale and David Mintz secretly trying to intercept our good name.
And Loretta, please, that answers your question. Peter, thank you. I know we chucked you in at the deep end here.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us. Really grateful. Have a super Sunday. And if people want to get hold of you, you've got 2 offices. Where are they based?
Guildford and London.
Okay, fantastic.
So with a partnership. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you, Peter.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So
cheers.
Thanks a lot. Lukey, anything you've taken away from that? Was a bit of a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's nice of him to come on, and nice of Greg as well to come on.
And who says conveyancers and solicitors don't have personalities?
Yeah, you can say that now he's gone.
Yeah,
you're fine with that.
Well, we couldn't make his head any bigger after Jim's comments saying Peter's awesome and things. But no, I just think that if people spent half an hour today or in their morning meeting tomorrow and said, look, do our negotiators want to get their commission sooner? Do we want to get paid sooner? Do we want to maybe help our mortgage commissions? And if we haven't got an arrangement with a mortgage advisor, see if you've got a local mortgage broker on LinkedIn that you can maybe tie up with. Do we want to help our clients better? Do we want to give our vendors better service by managing their expectations better? And within half an hour, you'll be able to put some simple things in place that are going to cut those timescales down massively. And you're going to get more deals through by that March deadline.
Definitely. 4 things that I thought. Hi, James. Thanks very much for joining us. We're just about to finish. But 4 things that I think that I took from that, which I think should really help all the agents watching this. And again, they're simple things. So the first thing talked about, Peter, was gifted deposits. You know, so if there is a gifted deposit, make sure you're asking people where their deposit's coming from. And if so, the lender's going to need that. And you're going to save yourself a massive load of time by finding that out. So I thought that was a really good point.
We, as an agent, you should be doing that as part of your anti-money laundering checks anyway. So you should be looking, you shouldn't just be accepting that, it's a gifted deposit. So you should be doing the risk assessments and your checks absolutely on those gifted deposits and looking at the bank statement as to where that's coming from. So that's part of that education process. And if you're not, then you should be having sleepless nights. And if you need help on that, then go to Michael Day for that, because
he's exceptional.
He's exceptional when it comes to making sure you can stay as compliant as possible when it comes to things like the AML regulations.
Definitely. And then again, to be honest, I think everything here, it wasn't rocket science. It's what every agent should be doing. But this is what I find scary. And I was really grateful that Peter came on to actually share what people aren't doing. So the ID checks, we touched on. Phoning up the solicitor to say, look, you've done an ID check, can I have it? So obviously, those processes aren't being done.
Well, wasn't there something in the industry press about one of the big online agents being fined by HMRC recently for not having strict anti-money laundering?
Yep, Purple Bricks were fined,
and it was just under £300,000 or £268,000. Well, And there's been other situations where other businesses have been fined. I mean, in the early days, one in Leicester, I think, was fined £12,000. Well, if you're not prepared to do it, hopefully you've got the money in the bank to pay the fine, because it's going to be a sizable amount.
Then, and this is something I think Loretta touched on as well, about the chain checks. I mean, you know, it's scary. On the day of exchange, just finding out that there's a related sale, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So again, all this stuff are the basics, but it goes to show, you know,
It's day one of a state agency.
Yeah, but sometimes estate agents, we're our own worst enemies by not doing all these basics right.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what Peter did is hopefully he reinforced the fact that these are the things that we need to be doing. And the final thing actually was getting a redemption statement as well. You know, so little things now. And again, actually the electronic deed signing, you know, so again, if you're looking for, if people say, I need to get something signed, well, are you aware now, is your solicitor aware now that you can do this? You know, so again, I think to end, that's a fantastic point.
And just
about the electronic deeds.
Check with those solicitors that are prepared to do it, because we've had situations where some of them are saying that they can't do it because their insurance won't cover them, and things. So have a conversation with those 5-10 top conveyancers in your area. Are you facilitating the electronic signatures now? Spot
on. So Ian White's now watching. So obviously he's managed to get away from the haunted house. And Ian, we're not going to get you on today. Andy Overman, you scared him and he's had sleepless nights all week with you and your boxer shorts. But thanks for watching and thanks for joining us. Eddie, I've mum giving a deposit. I've got bank account photo of mum sent with memorandum of sale to solicitor. Okay, so brilliant. Luke, thanks very much for joining me. Stacey, I'm really sorry. It's all my fault for getting Luke on here. So I'm sure he's going to make it up and you're going to have a lovely, lovely Sunday. But thanks for joining. If you liked it, if you've enjoyed it, please give us some likes, hearts, shares. So I think there's loads of great stuff on here. Thanks very much, Peter. Thanks very much, Jim, Loretta, Eddie, Abigail, Claire, everybody else for your comments, for watching this morning. We're really, really grateful. Tuesday, just a reminder, Benjamin Brain at 12:30. On Thursday, got Chris Fitzsimmons, who has got 50% market share in his area. We're going to be talking about how he's managed to get that and how he gets 2%. The following week, I've got Andy McNamee, who was Englishman of the Year. He ran 66 ultra marathons in 66 days. So we're going to be talking about mindset, redundancy, and loads of stuff. And on the following Thursday, I've got the most incredible mentor who's helped me immensely in my career, Peter Knight, who's going to be coming on as well. Wow. So please like it, share it. Let's get the message out there. Luke, thank you so much again for your time. Pleasure. Peter, thanks very much for coming on. Greg, thanks very much for coming on. Have a great Sunday, everybody, and a great week ahead. Thank you all. Bye.